Hello and welcome to Language of Caring, BVW Visibility Module Session 3, titled Appointment Issues, Walk-ins, and Cancellations. The goal of Language of Caring is to make our caring visible by incorporating skills, initiatives, and behaviors serving internal and external customers at all levels in every interaction, creating a caring culture every day. So let's talk about appointment issues and walk-in donors. What appointment issues would cause us to turn away a scheduled donor or a walk-in donor? No appointments available. That's one. The donor did not have an appointment. The donor was not notified of a canceled appointment. The system allowed last-minute appointments on an already full capacity drive. Donor was late for an appointment, which now makes them a walk-in. And of course, if we have no available appointments or we're at full capacity, then can't take that donor. Let's say this is a donor that comes in expecting to do a power read, or double read, or power read, depending if you remember that term. And the powered machine is broken, or the powered machine did not make it to the drive. Then of course we have donors that are very adamant or what do we say, strict about their donation type, and so they only want to do power reads. So if we don't have the machine and that's all they want to do, or the machine is broken, then we're not saying we're just turning them away, but we try to reschedule another appointment. Also, again, overbooking. Well, that goes back to, let's say the drive is already at capacity, we're already overbooked, so we have no available appointment slots, so therefore we can't take the donor. Or it could be simply that we're out of supplies. And it also could, another example of out of supply, meaning that the donor is coming with the intention of doing power reads, we're out of power read bags, or we're out of the labels for those power read bags. And we do have whole blood available, but they do not want to do whole blood. So we're simply out of the supplies that may be needed for that person to do power reads, or we might be out of the supply needed in general, for maybe something in health history or something else that we may need that is important for donating. We're out of those supplies, so therefore we have to turn the donors away. Now, is there anything that I've discussed or pointed out or shared that did not cover maybe some other ideas you may have or other experiences you've had on drives as to why donors were turned away? Please let's share these. So we've just discussed some appointment issues that would cause us to turn away scheduled donors or walk-in donors. And these donors have reported some common phrases that were spoken to them or that they heard while they were being turned away, whether it's by the staff or the volunteers, some of which are, we can't take walk-ins. Walk-ins aren't welcome. You don't have an appointment, so we can't take you today. We are full or overbooked. I don't understand why you were able to make the appointment. It shouldn't have let you. Oh, no one called you for the cancellation? Oh, we can't take you. It looks like your appointment was double booked. Say nothing, or the donor just simply sits there and wait. The donor is ultimately turned away after waiting, a few minutes to maybe even a couple of hours. And just something else I'd like to point out that we've learned, from the other two sessions that we've had, the importance of addressing our donors, staff and each other with the heart manner, and also the importance of using the blameless apology. And so I hope, based on the fact that we treat people the way we want to be treated, we would never ever speak to a donor in this capacity, in this manner. Is there anything else you would like to share about any phrases that you've heard or you may have used in the past, but of course now we learn and we know differently? Please share. So we've just discussed some appointment issues that would cause us to turn away scheduled donors or walk-in donors. And in the process of that, it's led to some comments that we call common phrases. And so, why are these common phrases so common? Let's talk about it. It could possibly be because the drive is so busy, the lines are long, we're feeling overwhelmed. Could be that it's a first time volunteer or a volunteer that doesn't feel comfortable in knowing what to say. And so, you know, you say things in not necessarily maybe the kindest way. And then you feel also that, these donors should know, and it's been advertised that an appointment is needed. So could be some of the reasons why these phrases are so common. So next thing is, who are we talking to? We need to think beyond our regular donor. Who are our donors? The donors could be, let's say this drive that you're at is a drive that's reoccurring every 56 days. So the donors could be employees of that reoccurring drive. Or the donors could be dedicated loved ones from someone who in the past needed a lot of blood and now they're trying to pay forward the kindness. It could be concerned community members who, braved COVID-19 anxiety to show up. It could be someone who answered the call to action despite concerns for virus spread. And know that COVID is still a real thing. It's not as bold as it was, but people still do have concerns regarding COVID. And they still have concerns about people not wearing masks. So we need to think about that as well. So who benefits from these impersonal statements? No one. What do we expect from collections to coach you as a volunteer? What kind of support do we expect from the collection team? Well, they will allot time to introduce themselves to you as a volunteer prior to the drive. Even 1 minute of an introduction makes a big difference. And also, we need to realize if they don't come to you to introduce themselves, please find out who the charge is and introduce yourself. Ask about any goals and expectations for the day. The unit goals, short wait times, social distancing, masks, registration process or procedures. And also at this point, you also would like to ask the charge or the team supervisor, are we taking walk-ins? Are we at capacity? So those are some of the questions you need to ask. Ask if you can be included also when they do the team huddle, if you're there early enough, because sometimes we make it, a few minutes early to be included, and sometimes you get there right at the time that you need to be there, so you might miss the huddle. But if you're there early enough, please ask if you can be included in the huddle. Also, you need to check in with the charge or the team supervisor every hour, every hour or two, just to be abreast of what's going on at the drive. There's a quote by Vince Lombardi that says, "It takes months to find a customer, and seconds to lose one." This is so true. For example, you can have a very dedicated donor or donors who go to the same drive every 56 days or every 112 days, very dedicated, love to donate, enjoy the Red Cross, and then it just takes one common phrase to upset that donor or donors and cause them to stop donating and cause us to lose them as a valid donor. So now let's talk about walk-ins and appointment confusion that stems from our commonly used phrases and also how the donors interpret these phrases that we use. I would also like you to think about, if you were the donor receiving this phrase, how would you feel? Know that you have adjusted your day, driven a long distance to get to the gas, or paid for a babysitter so you could donate. I would like you to think of, how would you feel if you heard some of these phrases? A phrase like, "We can't take walk-ins." And so the donor might possibly interpret this to mean, "What? I always walk in. I guess you don't really need the blood. I was told the need was urgent. I can't believe I arranged my day for this. They seemed so annoyed with me and I was just trying to help." Another phrase could be, you don't have an appointment. We can't take you today. And so the donor's interpretation could be, since when do I have to have an appointment? I always walk in due to my hectic schedule, and you all know that. I thought they, whoever they may be, needed blood. I guess mine don't matter or doesn't matter. Another phrase is, we've already met our goal. And so the donor's interpretation of this is, American Red Cross are just a bunch of hypocrites. You call me to donate. Now here I am, and you won't even see me. Why couldn't you just call me and say, we need to cancel your appointment? That would have saved me some time. Another phrase is, not even a phrase, another thing to do is, a common thing to do is, we say nothing to the donor. The donor sits there and they wait for hours. And then after waiting, we just simply say, we can't see you. So the donor's reaction is, why couldn't you just told me the wait time would be this long, or giving me an option to reschedule? I waited all this time for nothing. They seem to have forgotten that you all seem to have forgotten that I've been sitting here. That's 2 hours of my time that I will never get back. I wonder if, you even cared if I had left. You must not need the blood. What are your thoughts on that if you were the donor receiving these comments? The goal of the Heart Head Heart module is to balance task-oriented communication with communication from the heart. Communicating in this way improves effectiveness in everyday communications, including face-to-face, email, text, phone, and mass conversations. The goal of the visibility module is simple, and that is to make our caring visible in every interaction, every day. Today's visibility module focuses on reviewing the heart head heart skill and how utilizing it can help us balance our task-oriented communication with heartfelt empathy in order to be more effective in everyday routine and difficult situations. To build a great heart head heart message, other skills such as acknowledging feelings or explaining positive intent are needed. Our next few slides are going to be a quick review of the skills and their uses. And these slides will be covered by none other than the amazing Miss April. Thank you.
Okay, changing the conversation to the walk-in donors. Be mindful of the donors' time and efforts when they are coming in to donate and when you have to share unfortunate news about their ability or inability to do so at the time that they expected to. If the same day time slot appointments are not available for a donor, here's an example of a great heart, head, heart message to share with that donor. Thank you for coming in today. I'm so sorry to share that our appointments are now full for today, but I would love to get you set up for a future appointment. Do you have the blood donor app? And then service that donor to help them get scheduled for another time frame at a later time. If the appointments are open later in the drive that they're currently at, but just not at the designated time that they have, again, another example of a heart, head, heart message is, thank you for coming in today. Unfortunately, we don't have any appointments available right at this moment, and we can't take walk-ins, but I do have an appointment in about 2 hours. I'm happy to pencil you in for that if it works for you. So these are two examples of how to take the conversation from good to great whenever a walk-in donor comes in, and we want to make sure that we are honoring their time to come in and give blood for us. When dealing with our blood donors, we always want to honor this quote here by Theodore Roosevelt. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is why the statement that we just discussed, or the statements that we just discussed in regards to the heart, head, heart messaging to display to our donors that we appreciate you so much for coming in to donate. It's not about how much we know. It's the fact that we're showing empathy and we're showing that we care that our blood donors have come in to donate. And although things may not have worked out as planned, that it is our mission and our goal to ensure that they have an excellent experience. So we always want to reflect how much we care about our donors. So moving on to the next topic of discussion, appointments and cancellations. So we see this scenario quite often. A donor comes in the door, they come straight to the registration table to our registration volunteer. The volunteer greets the donor, and the donor proceeds to register on the laptop for their appointment. And they let the volunteer know, I made an appointment, I have a confirmation. The volunteer asks the donor what their name is so they can mark their name off of the schedule. The donor's name is not on the list. The volunteer proceeds to share with the donor, I apologize, I don't see your name listed as an appointment. The donor looks up from the laptop. What do you mean I don't have an appointment? So now the volunteer is trying to figure out, okay, how do I respond to this? Because the donor came in the door with confidence that they have an appointment, but they're checking their schedule and the donor's name is not listed. So what does the volunteer do from there? What skills are necessary? What's the next point of action? When tasked with difficult conversations, such as turning a donor away at registration or working through a day of being short staffed, it's vital to remember to be clear, empathetic, and honest with each donor. However, that does not mean we have to share the why behind every issue. For example, if a donor's appointment isn't showing up in the system and they said they made one online and they have a confirmation, it is not appropriate or necessary to say, well, our system is messing up all the time. We don't have to overshare in order to give our donors the best customer service possible. We still need to protect the confidentiality and just out of good taste, not overshare with what's going on with our collections team whenever we're trying to service our donor, because that can distort the whole experience. So we want to be careful to say it with heart, be clear, respectful, empathetic, and concise without oversharing. So since you have been instructed to not overshare, the question still stands, well, what do you say to a donor whenever you're faced with a situation of they've come in the door, they're showing you they have an appointment, they have a confirmation, but it's not showing in the system? First things first, we want to always make sure that we reframe the situation from the donor's point of view. We don't want to deflect and say, oh, well, yeah, you say you have an appointment, well, it's not listed here. We don't want to do that. We definitely want to offer a blameless apology for any mix-ups, any confusion, and confirm that they've completed Rapid Pass. That's a part of our steps as a BDA. And just kind of go on through the process, acknowledge what's taking place, but go ahead and proceed with the process itself. And go ahead and get the donor situated. And you also want to thank them, going back to the heart statement. You always want to close out with heart. Thank you for planning and making an appointment. I'm sorry for the confusion. Please check in here and go ahead and get your donor squared away. So having some pro tips at the top of your mind are essential when you're faced with the situation that we're discussing here in regards to a donor not showing up in the system and they're stating that they have an appointment. Remember that appointment issues are never the donor's fault. Our blood donors have signed up to give blood for the American Red Cross, and anything administrative on our end is no fault of theirs. Ensure that there's an open line of communication taking place between yourself and if there are any other volunteers involved, if the DRD rep is there, whomever, Red Cross staff, make sure that everyone is talking to everyone so that we can move donors through the process as smoothly as possible. Always ensure that you are showing appreciation directed towards that donor for their time and efforts for coming in to even make the appointment to give their life-saving blood donation. A good suggestion here is reiterating to that donor this statement below. I'm sorry for the mix up here. We are going to get it all sorted out for you. I appreciate you making the appointment to start with. So bringing the donor back to a place of positivity is always very beneficial and helpful to do. So let's keep those things at the top of our mind when we are dealing with those kind of situations. Another set of circumstances that you may encounter is that the donor has an appointment, but there's still an issue. You see the appointment in the system, everything is clearly there, but the drive has gotten so busy that the staff is behind. Maybe we're even understaffed, late start, over presentation, a lot of walk-ins came in before the appointment came in, or any other reason for that matter. So how do you handle situations like that? The best response is always one that does not place blame, going back to the blameless apology. Sharing a heart statement with our donors is always the way to go, starting with an apology. I'm so sorry for the confusion with your appointment. I want to make sure you have a chance to donate. Explaining to the donor, right now we're pretty backed up, so there's that transparency. You're honest, but you're not oversharing. So letting the donor know, right now we are pretty backed up, and your wait time is looking like it's going to at least be an hour. And apologizing again, I'm sorry about this. Is there any way you'd be interested in coming back later so you can still donate and we'll have a chance to catch up? That way, you're not telling the donor outright that they can't donate at all. You are giving them an alternative. You're creating an option for them to come back and donate later on in the day when things have slowed down. You're not oversharing, as we discussed previously. You're not telling too much about what's going on. You're just being honest in regard to, you're backed up right now and it's going to take at least an hour before you can get to that donor. And then you're also closing it out with heart, showing that you care about the donor's time. So if you're ever faced with a circumstance like this is a great way to approach it. This will satisfy the donor feeling appreciated, valued. You're telling them what's going on, and you're giving them an option as to how they can handle it, whatever they feel like will be best for them based on the time that they have left to do what they need to do as far as their donation is concerned. In full transparency, there will be situations that cause long waits or appointments to be canceled or not honored altogether. So here you will see 3 examples as to when that may happen and what should we do about it and how should we respond. So example number 1 is that we're short-staffed, and we'll have to turn donors away. With that being the case, what do we do? How do we handle it? Firstly, you want to let the donor know that you're sorry for the inconvenience, thank them for coming in, and give them an option to schedule at a later time. This is another one of those situations that reiterates that we don't have to overshare in order to explain what's taking place. We don't have to go into detail and saying, hey, we're short staffed, we had people calling out, or things of that nature. We just need to explain, I'm sorry to share that we have a significant wait time today, and we don't want you to have to wait a long time. So, would you like to come back at a later time, or can we reschedule you all together for another day? So, that's showing that you care about the donor's time without blaming anyone for the reasons as to why they can't be seen at their appointment time that they have at that moment. Example number 2, the donor made a same day appointment and it's not showing up anywhere. Drive is already overbooked. So what do? You want to treat the donor like they have an appointment, and work them in or offer another time later in the drive. In order to not place blame again, you want to apologize for any confusion if there is any, with a donor coming in and there's a long wait time or the appointment cannot be honored. If there is a significant wait time, you want to let the donor know in advance, and just like the previous example, you want to offer another time during that drive or a later date altogether. Example number 3, over presentation causes major delays, which it does. If you have a bus drive or if you have a drive at a place of business and other folks are seeing that the Red Cross is there, they may walk in on their lunch breaks, or they may spread the word and put it on their social media, and now people are coming in to donate. So now you have over presentation, and that's backing everything up. So what do you do in that instance? So when that's the case, you want to thank everybody that comes in. As they come and go, you definitely want to acknowledge that donor flow when you want to be your best and offer your best customer service in that instance. But if something takes place and now the wait time has, well, not the something, over presentation has taken place, and now you have a long wait time ahead for the donor, what do? Thank you for coming in today. We're having a great day here at the whatever the name of the blood drive is. So make it a positive and not a negative. And make them aware that, hey, if you don't have time to wait today, we do understand. happy to schedule you for a time and date that works better. We thank you for waiting, but if you can't, we understand. So this is a great opportunity this is a good problem to have as far as over presentation, but for a donor that has taken the time to come in and give, and now they thought it was going to be a 20-minute wait, now it's an hour, and not so much for that particular donor. So you want to be sensitive to that if it's ever an issue of over presentation. In conclusion, this quote here I think has a beautiful meaning. Customer service represents the heart of a brand in the hearts of its customers. So when I read this, and you all may have a different perception of what you see when you read this quote, but what I'm seeing is that customer service represents the heart of a brand. Just that part right there. The customer service representing the heart of a brand to me means the representation, the mission, the purpose of that organization, of that brand, as it says here, of that business, is represented in the service that is rendered. That's the heart of the brand. That's what it represents. That's what they stand for. And it's in the heart of its customers. So it's a trickle down. Whatever the heart is of the brand, it rolls down into the hearts of its customers. And it becomes a cycle. If you have dedicated customers, you will continue to have the brand will continue to be represented appropriately. I always think about Chick-fil-A with this. With Chick-fil-A, which all of us I'm sure have had the my pleasure to serve you experience at Chick-fil-A, but you can tell by the customer service that you are giving by Chick-fil-A staff that that's what Chick-fil-A expects and that's what they represent. There's a level of excellence that they expect their employees to carry when they give customer service. And then whenever you're the customer, you find yourself being a lot more pleasant and a lot more easygoing because it's contagious. Positivity is contagious. So I really do like this quote here, and I think it represents not only the American Red Cross well, but also our Language of Caring program.